What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk for our final game of the day. It's Immortals versus Team Liquid, and we'll come back here to talk about it in just a moment. But today, PoE faces off against his former coach, Bjergsen, and both mid laners gave us some thoughts ahead of their matchup in today's game. Check it out.
Yeah, I really want to beat PowerOfEvil. Thankfully, I already did once in the lock-in, but I don't want to lose to him. I mean, I coached him for 1 year. I know how he is and thinks as a player. I think he kind of knows how I am as a player as well, because I tried to teach him a lot of things that I know and the way that I see the game. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but I really want to win.
Well, our match against TL is going to be a banger. Hopefully I can get my revenge on him, since they won against us in the lock-in tournament, and I think it's going to be really fun facing off against Bjergsen again. Obviously after having him as a coach for a full year. I think that we both have inside information on the other guy, because we have been talking intensively for a whole year, sharing mid-lane experiences, sharing mid-lane metas and champions and strategies. So I feel like we have both learned from each other a lot, which means I think we automatically both kind of know each other way better than I feel like another mid-laner would know someone else.
Both players, though, with plenty of experience under their belt. But I'm kind of curious from the three of you, who you feel has the advantage? Is it the former coach, the person who got to watch from the bird's eye, the other guy play for a year? Or is it the mid-mentee, in a way, who got to sit there and absorb all of the strategies and ideas as brought forward by Bjergsen?
I think it's the coach.
I'm with you.
I think it's the coach.
You think it's the coach?
Because you understand, you put in a ton of work on your players, the positives, the negatives, and there are some things you're like, oh, he can't implement that. Or at least like he's unwilling to, or he views something differently, right? You just store that in the back of your mind, and just for days like these.
Dude, that's a nefarious way of putting it, by the way. It's just now I've got this whole idea that Bjergsen was like, I'm keeping that. Just in case I ever return to League of Legends.
It ended on a lot more threatening note than I thought it would be. I'll bring it back to something, I guess, kind of positive. Talking to Bjergsen before he left for Korea, one of the things he did mention is that being a coach gives you a really different perspective on the game that he, I guess, had known was coming, but didn't anticipate like how much he'd learn outside of just, you know, playing against your opponent, playing in-game. So that specifically, not even against PoE, obviously he coached PoE, but that specifically is something that I think is really interesting.
And as these stats pop up under our screen, Mark, this is where I want to pull you in. Expand from just PoE to Immortals Progressive as a whole.
Stop it!
Look, hey, it's been a little bit Struggle City, but they were also a team that exited very early, so we haven't seen a ton from them.
Yeah, but so I'm going to be overly negative, and I hope someone counters me out here.
Okay. Well, Jack did yesterday, by
And
the
it's
way.
only 1 week of the regular season, but they're the only winless team in the LCS in 2022. Some of those are academy games. You can excuse, you know, some of these other teams, but why haven't they won yet? They're 0-5 so far through this year. If this was week 3 of the LCS, would we be like, oh, they're 0-5, it's not that bad? They've looked terrible. They're last in the league in like literally every early game stat you can pull almost. Like, it's a bit of it's kind of on fire. And I know it's still really early, and that's why people aren't like getting the fire extinguishers out, but I'm like, Immortals, please show me something already. Show me something that will give me like a pulse.
You're looking for that glimmer for a reason to believe that they have, you know, something to
It's
win.
1 game of the actual LCS, but it's been 5 total.
Any of you want to jump at the other side of that argument?
Maybe a little bit of I mean, for me, I look at some of the team fights, because I think team fighting is going to be their identity. They have a control mage player in the mid lane. They have like pretty much the same kind of player, a smarter jungler, and a lot of the times they're just on different pages, right? And if this comes to something as simple as that's very reviewable. If something like, okay, you know, Revenge in one of the larger game-ending team fights is trying to go for a long loop around in the jungle. Meanwhile, Xerxe is like, oh, I'm going in now. Those type of things are easy to rectify, and we are in just week 1. I'm the exact same type of person that you're trying to ward against, Mark. But I'm patient.
What is that, optimistic?
I don't know.
Patience.
All right,
That's not optimism. That's just saying, okay, well,
Emily, get in here.
I'll
Bring some order to this
discussion.
discussion. Bring some order to this.
So I
He'll
think
fill it up.
like it's a lot like to Raz's point, like execution, right? So the execution's been off. The sort of like glimmers I've seen are like, you know, PoE in yesterday's game, I believe, against Dignitas, it was the Vex LeBlanc matchup. He was trying to get down to bot lane to affect bot, right? Like you did see him trying to move. And so then if you're doing that, it's about like, okay, how are you going to sync this up with Xerxe, even though like, you know, he's getting you know, he's getting invaded on? Like, what are we doing on the map, and how do I hit those timers with the rest of my team? So for me, it's a lot more about like communication.
Yes, and even one positive point by the end of the game that they had on that day, like, it took them a long time. They were incredibly poor at that point, so they were going to lose team fights anyways, but they were getting the fights actually, like, they were playing fights well. I thought Revenge as a Akali specifically was doing a damn good job, but it was obviously a lesson learned too late, but it's a new day, and I want to see them learn that lesson minute one.
Look, Mark, I'm not going to try and convince you. I'm going to let Immortals do just
I
that,
pray they
all right?
do.
As we dive into the final game of the day, it's Immortals, it's Team Liquid, and it's Flowers and Azael on the call.
Not just the final game of the day, the final game of the week, and I hope it delivers. I'm one of those people that's also waiting for one of those signs of life from Immortals. I want to see this roster pop off. What are you grinning at?
I'm one of those people that's also waiting for a sign of life.
When you're
They're on the stage, Flowers.
I know.
They're
I want
live.
to see them succeed.
They're clicking. They're moving around.
Oh my goodness. You know what I meant. All right, Azael is being cheeky, so let's see how the draft is going to look, my
Maybe we'll get a little bit of a cheeky draft.
Yeah, maybe
Go
we'll
along
get
with
a
a little bit of a
cheeky
cheeky
draft.
cast.
Well, we do have the Jarvan and the Corki immediately banned away, so no cheeky rockets this game.
No cheeky rockets for
Worst
all
kind
of
of
your
rocket.
health. Yeah, it definitely is.
60%
what is
HP.
that champion, by the way?
Dude, I don't know.
2 screens away.
2 screens away,
Spammable ability.
60% of your health, no
Get
cooldown,
hit, dodge 40 in a row.
nothing but
Get
a
hit
whiskey
by
delta.
1, back to base for you.
I don't
Nothing but
even
a
know what
whiskey
that
delta.
means. I don't even know what I just said. Anyway, we've got some pretty standard bans coming out. It's Twisted Fate and Caitlyn banned out. Xerxe's banned away, as per usual. A lot of teams not wanting to deal with that. What's the last one going to be, TL? Still plenty of good stuff left up. I'm hoping Immortals got something spicy for us here in the draft. I've been looking at comments on social media between the games, and I've been seeing a lot of people be really excited about how, like what you talked about last game. Hey, I'm loving the different strategies. I'm loving the different approaches that we're seeing. So that's what I want to see. I want to see a defined, solid approach coming out here from Immortals. They'll start off with Aphelios.
I just don't think Immortals is the like do something crazy team, right? When I look at these players,
But I want them.
Immortals is to me, they are let's 5v5, let's go late, let's look for scaling, you know, and that's kind of the identity that I think a lot of these players have had. Turtle has been a strong team fighter. You know, Xerxe is a really smart early game jungler. He maybe has a little bit more spice because he used to play some things that were kind of less popular, like Hecarim wasn't being played a lot, and you know he's had his different looks on the meta. But in general, like PoE has been the control mage, team fighting guy his whole career. That has been his bread and butter. And with the Aphelios first pick, it'll be interesting to see, is the Thresh going to get taken away? Because definitely if you don't take it, Destiny will grab it, loves the hook champions. It's such a strong pairing with the Aphelios. But Thresh plus Jinx is such an incredibly strong duo
Good with
anyway.
both of them.
Like, that's why I almost would have preferred. So if they're trying to set up specifically for this matchup of Nautilus and a Thresh, and if that's the matchup that you want, then sure. But if you're just looking for a strong all-around duo, you can just first pick the Thresh and then take the Jinx or the Aphelios, and both are
Whichever
really,
one
really
they
good
don't
pairings.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it was an insta-lock on the Nautilus, so that leads me to believe that they're saying, okay, you're going to go Thresh here, we're going to answer it with the Nautilus, and we're going to try to play aggressive into this. Because you have to remember, Thresh doesn't really play Aftershock these days. It's almost all Glacial Augment, which means you are a lot more squishy. Nautilus can go Aftershock and play for all-ins if you want to look for that sort of style.
Yeah.
And you will win out on those trades just with the extra flat resistances that you get from the Aftershock as long as you can really connect with that Thresh.
And both of our mid lane picks this game very much fit the players they are picked for. Viktor, kind of the statement control mage in the current meta.
Yeah.
That's over there for PowerOfEvil. Bjergsen will once again be playing his Zilean that constantly wreaks havoc upon the LCS.
It's another one of those champions that, yeah, you're not surprised that Bjergsen picked Zilean, but no one else is playing
no
Zilean.
other person plays this champion.
Exactly.
Sorry for the two of you people out there who play Zilean. I apologize. But nobody else in the LCS plays Zilean.
Well, and even across all major regions, this will be the 8th Zilean pick total across all major regions, including, you know, the preseason tournaments and stuff, right? So almost not at all is this played. 4 of those games, 4 of the 8 are Bjergsen. So he has been playing
He
this.
likes him some Zilean.
He is incredibly strong on the pick. It is one of the best scaling champions in the game. It is one of the best enablers in the game. You already see Jinx, you see Zilean, you say, oh God, if they get to 3 items, it's gonna be hard because a champion who like Jinx, who can make the most out of that long range with the move speed, And when you're piloting that, with a player like Hansama, who has such incredible mechanics, you can really get the most of that speed by sidestepping skill shots, by playing that line right on the very edge where you're in range and they can't quite hit you.
And of course, the other big conversation about Zilean besides the speed is the ulti, right? The ability to get that free res.
Yep.
And generally what teams want to have against that is some AoE threat to make it so it's not just focusing onto one person and blowing them up. Something like a Nautilus ult catching somebody out doesn't really matter if Zilean brings them right back to life. Now, of course, Viktor has some powerful AoE tools with the E, with the ulti.
So does
but
Aphelios.
and I want to see them continue to build upon that to be able to deal with this. Team Liquid now thinking about maybe grabbing the jungler here next. It's Gwen and Renekton banned out by Immortals. It's Irelia and Jace banned out by TL. Lots of focus on those top lane champions.
Yeah. Now, what I will say is I'm really excited for the last picks here, because if they go Xin, that's super standard, but that means 5th pick for Bwipo. And Bwipo is not like a 5th pick Ornn kind of guy.
Oh, no.
Bwipo is usually going to look for something that either completely changes the composition or is really strong in the 1v1. Something that he can really get an edge on. He's not afraid to take picks that are not popular whatsoever in the meta. And if Immortals were to make a splash, I think it would be, in these next couple of picks, because Xerxe is one of the guys that is willing to take more risky picks. He's more of a less standard player. Qiyana would be a pretty cool twist here.
Yeah!
Gonna get something aggressive in the jungle here from Xerxe. So we've already seen a couple of assassin jungle games from Golden Guardians. Pride Stalker brought out Qiyana. He brought out Zed. Now we're gonna get to see Xerxe's look on it. And it's gonna have to be a blind top. A lot of top lane bans come to mind already, so he could be looking towards something like a Graves that's open. Could be looking towards a tank that's open.
Okay, well, the Graves will be locked in. What's the answer here, Bwipo? How are we going to do this? Bwipo, you already said he's not the Ornn kind of the guy. He's not one of those red side 5th pick Renekton kind of guys. I want to see a Graves answer.
And I think, you can go carry here very easily with the composition, right? You have Zilean, it's more supportive champion. Yes, you can do damage, but you don't have consistent damage. So taking a carry top to actually counter the Graves, I think works well with the composition.
And hey,
okay.
there it is.
Tryndamere top here. Tryndamere
carry
likes
champ.
him some move speed.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to kite a Tryndamere that's running 99% increased movement speed with the Zilean E.
You said it earlier in the game that we already saw Tryndamere when it was played by Evil Geniuses. His whole thing is he needs to be faster than you.
Yep.
Well, with Old Man Time Bomb here, you're going to be faster.
You're definitely going to go fast. I like the pairings, for that potential later on, but also, works well with Zhao, works well with the Jinx. So I think the Zilean comp here, well-rounded. And on the other side, Immortals have some heavy scaling, I think, with the Viktor, with the Aphelios, but they also have a splash of early game. They have a splash of aggression here, with the potential for the Nautilus to move around, the Qiyana, and even the Graves that you expect to have the push early. Graves definitely needs to dominate the minion wave here early on against the Tryndamere. You do not want to let the Tryndamere have access to the wave. That's really the MO in most of these range versus melee matches when you're playing into Tryndamere, is don't let him have access to stack up that rage, because if he does, he can threaten all ins.
He can threaten all ins. It gives him more powerful sustain as he uses the Q to be able to consume the rage for extra healing. Quick reminder that because, as you can see, we have players in the Immortal chairs, but no players in the Team Liquid chairs. Team Liquid is playing remotely today, so we're going to have a little bit more of a delay before we actually jump into the game, because we have to do the competitive integrity time build up because we have remote play happening. But that also means we have a little bit more time to talk about this before the game. And the number one thing I want from Immortals is coordination. Mark brought it up, talking about it on the desk beforehand, but specifically, if it's the thing, or maybe it was Raz talking about, they were both having a conversation back and forth. Anyway, okay.
Okay, it's just some guys on the desk.
I might have been looking up numbers while they were making the points. Anyway, we have a situation where the last time we saw them play, that big wraparound, where Revenge was coming around behind the Dragon Pit, Xerxe engages, the whole thing falls apart. Bad Kung Fu movie.
They need to be coordinated.
I need to see this team on the same page. These are not like brand new players who don't have experience. These are guys who have been around the block here in professional play, and I want to see them play like a well-oiled machine.
Absolutely. And I do think that there's going to be a little bit of a feeling of urgency when you're playing on Immortals, and that sounds really funny to say for the second game of the LCS split.
Yeah.
But they went 0-4 in lock-in. They lost their opening game. And you need to get momentum. The mental tax that losing 6 straight games on stage is real. That is something that can really affect your prospects moving forward, especially for a team that I think had a lot higher expectations actually coming into this season. People thought they were going to come out of the gate strong with some strong carry players. We are now onto the game, and some pretty interesting stuff already. So phase rush on the Viktor, it's been almost area exclusively, but this is super smart when you're playing against the Viktor. Against the Zilean, because the Zilean slow there is so oppressive. Being able to proc phase rush to actually kite out of that if ganks do come in is a really, really big deal. And you'll also notice Ghost Flash in both of the top laners. So this is, I think, a pretty smart adaptation from Revenge. And I think the read is he is going to play Ghost, so I need to have Ghost to match, or I will get run down. TP will not save you in those kind of situations. So he's going fully for the move speed, basically, setup here, where he's going Fleet. I would expect that he's actually playing, all the move speed runes, and I'll even check on that. He's going to be playing Fleet. He's going to be playing Time Warp Tonic and Sustain, and having Ghost to try to answer the Ghost that comes out from Bwipo. Which will be really interesting because Bwipo also pretty standard range setup, melee versus range. He goes D-Shield. He's actually going to be playing, sustain runes with the Second Wind in his secondary for Azael. And that alone, when you play Second Wind plus Doran Shield, you negate most of the early game chip that range champions can do, and it really allows you to kind of have a much smoother laning phase.
I remember back when Runes Reforged first kind of came out, and people were really hype on bone plating because of its ability to help you survive like burst or quick 1v1s or whatever. But I was always thinking, I was like, wow, people keep taking bone plating in these range versus melee matchups, and it just sucks because you can knock the bone plating off and get no value out of it. In those types of matchups, Second Wind feels so good to just resist the constant flow of damage that you're going to be exposed to. And adapting to those situations, I think, is very important. It's the same thing with phase rush in mid lane. While Airy is really good for enhancing the trading pattern you're already going to have, phase rush enables an entirely new way to play because you're not automatically beaten by the slow.
Absolutely. The slow is going to be so problematic for him, if a gank setup occurs. Slows coming through from Glacial Augment, slows from potential of a Tryndamere chasing you down, so he's going to be more set up for that. It does make your laning phase a little bit weaker, which, you have to kind of weigh that, right? Because you're saying, all right, I want to pressure the Zilean in the early stages when the Zilean is kind of really at its weakest, so I'm giving up some power there, but the other side of it is you're going to be a lot safer come mid-game. To kind of circle back on that bone plating discussion that you had, I actually super agree that bone plating is kind of just defaulted to too much. And the way I generally look at it is Second Wind versus poke, and bone plating should be versus all in. It still has its place and it has a lot of high value, or champions that at least hit you multiple times in a trade, right? If you're playing against like a Jax or something, and they're going to jump in with Counter-Strike and hit you a couple times, you get a lot of value. But when you're playing against Jace and Graves and these types of camps, you just don't get enough out of it. The cooldown is so long, and you're going to get a lot more from Second Wind.
The question I typically ask is how easily can he auto-attack me whenever he feels like it? If he can constantly auto-attack you, well, Second Wind's probably going to give you more value because otherwise he'll just auto-attack the plating off every time it's ready.
Yep.
And that's sort of my barometer for it, but I only play Skyner, so what do I know? Anyway, bottom side, we got Hans Sama and Eyla, level 3 versus the level 2 of their opponents. Remember, both of these carries, we've seen so much of them throughout the current meta game, like the scaling up, the hyper carry, 3-item power spike, all of that. Both of our supports do have that playmaking potential. You mentioned maybe we would see an aftershock from the Nautilus, but there is no aftershock here. Glacial Augment on both of them. Santorin is here in the bottom lane. Are we going to get a dive out of this? TL, they're in position to maybe make it happen. Let's see how they do. Santorin's going to begin. Steps out of the way of the dredge line there, but he's going to get rooted up. They throw out the lantern. They pull him back. They're going to get WildTurtle's flash in exchange for nothing.
That's really well done, honestly. Destiny not able to actually connect on that hook onto Santorin, so they can't lock him in under the tower. So going to be feeling pretty good about that. Just doing a 5-camp clear, leaves up the blue for a delayed blue buff take here, then right down towards bot. He had already done the scuttle. And going to be feeling like a really nice early path. And this is where it gets kind of awkward for the Zilean. It's one of those situations where you're not very precise in the early stages without a lot of spell power. The bombs can sometimes just kind of mess up the last hit marks, where you put things to awkward health points, where you last hit the one target you want, but maybe your minions are finishing things off. And Bjergsen is really greeting this out. I don't know if they had eyes on Qiyana. In fact, they probably did with that ward on bot side.
Oh, and now Turtle with no flash left. Cleanse don't matter. The hook comes out. However, Destiny is at least able to buffer through some of that there with the dredge line, get himself away. But it is first blood for TL here very quickly.
That is huge, getting the early kill there, and it goes over onto Santorin, who just returns back to that bot side. Revenge trying to run through him. This is a little bit risky, but I don't think you have enough damage early game to really threaten the kill.
Got that crit at the last hit, though.
Yeah, always feels good.
Well, unless you're the one against it, then you're kind of like, come on, dude, what the hell?
Yeah, especially feels terrible when you're playing against it. And like level 1, you know, they just pop ghosts and start walking at you, and you see the crit animation first swing, and like, it's one of those games.
It's because of the way Tryndamere does it too. He cares so little. He's dragging his sword on the ground. He has a 1%
So he
chance
can get
to
a bigger
crit you.
chop flowers.
He's like, here you go, buddy. And that's the Tryndamere experience. But Bwipo's having a great time up here with it. 48 versus 45 CS. We've got a nice early rotation here from Destiny to see if maybe Bwipo just gets a little bit too hypey on it. Bwipo does now have his ultimate. Over the wall comes Destiny, right on top of a ward, and that means Bwipo is plenty safe.
He swept the ward and then just ran. So I think they didn't have eyes on where Santorin is. I think he was a little bit nervous that, if I clear
We
this,
don't win this 2v2.
I don't have a flash. If Santorin's here, I'm actually just dead. So he spots the ward, but isn't going to be able to clear it out, unfortunately for him, heading straight back down towards bot. But TL going to be really happy about the early stages of this. Bwipo is going to actually end up positive in farm here. You can't dive him because he has 6. He's going to be able to pick up at least most of this farm. And Revenge could be in some trouble here. He's looking for the chase down.
It's Bwipo starting it up there with the Ghost. Bwipo gets ulted by Revenge, but holds his own ulti. This is an important part of Tryndamere play, is not wasting that if you don't absolutely
They're trying to corral him for threatening a dive. Or at least if you delay the base, at very least, you do actually make him lose some of these waves. This would be a tricky dive. They could go in for it.
Okay, well, there's
Nicely
your
done.
Endless Rage. Bwipo now will not
Forces
have
TP.
that ability to get himself away. They get the TP instead. So no kill, but mid lane teleport. So nicely done there from Immortals, at least getting
Kiwi's
himself
roaming to
that
match
resource.
this.
But now bottom side, PowerOfEvil's coming down. They're predicting something bad to happen here. They have sniffed it out, and that means that TL will back away.
And I've got to say, well handled by both teams. That was actually really intelligent stuff. If you go for the overdive, Tryndamere's ult will buy him time for Bjergsen's TP to come through, and then you just die. Because, you know, Revenge is actually pretty low health at that point. They don't have super high damage. But by going in, forcing the ult immediately, if you don't get the response TP from Bjergsen, you just stand behind him, you wait for the ult to expire, and then it's a free kill on Bwipo. So it forces out the TP, and at the same time, TL says, all right, you committed top, we'll take Dragon, threaten a bot dive, but guess what? PoE had more pressure mid because Bjergsen had a TP away, so he utilizes that pressure to come down and cover the dive. And that's just good stuff from both teams. It's the back and forth that you want to see.
It's the you're playing chess, I'm playing checkers thing, except actually it's
You're both playing chess.
It's just a game of chess. Yes. So I love to see it. Total gold here on the side of your screen. You can see it's actually Santorin, the top of the gold chart right now, because he got that first blood there on the Zhao. Working towards that Gore Drinker here nice and early. Does have his own level 6 ready to go here, provides him tons of tankiness in the fight. But the level 6 on Xerxe is much more of a playmaking tool here in the jungle. And that's what I want to see, is Immortals to make something happen with that now that it's online.
Yep, absolutely. You can see, again, more emphasis on tier 2 boots for the move speed up in the top lane. Both top laners traded Ghost early on, and then you have got to keep up on the move speed. If you cannot kite out this Tryndamere, you will lose those all in. So Tabby's rush here for Revenge. He knows it's physical damage jungler, physical damage top laner, both heavily reliant on the auto attacks. And really, it's going to be a very physical damage skewed comp from TL in general. Yeah, Bjergsen's going to land some bombs, but it's not consistent damage. So Tabbies are very, very effective here. And on the other side, Bwipo, Zeal, plus the tier 2 Xerxe Greaves here. Again, the emphasis on move speed. It'll be interesting to see if he just sits on Zeal, which is really, really efficient early on, and then goes into Gale Force, or if he's actually going to complete his Zeal item here and try to, you know, get that first upgraded.
We'll make sure to keep an eye on it as things move forward. Santorin did start up the Rift Herald here, but Immortals was wise to what's going on. They will not allow him to complete this task. Instead, it's Immortals bringing up 4 players to deal with this when the whole team's here. I mean, Revenge is hanging out in the top lane, but he can rotate over very easily. Bottom side, it's Bwipo just going to town on that tier 1 turret. It's plates and plates and plates and plates. The Rift Herald can get you a couple of plates, but Bwipo's already cashing in with the same value down here at the bottom. Xerxe's at 150 HP.
Oh no.
Now they're coming in to try to deal with it. Now you got Destiny about to die. He's burning away. Ayla's at 200 HP now as well. PowerOfEvil The bomb nearly next to Destiny, but not quite there. And that Rift Herald Eye, it's not picked up by TL because they didn't kill the Herald, but they can zone Immortals away. So all they end up getting is the gold value of the Herald. Why Bwipo got, what was that, 3-4 plates?
You got three plates and about 9/10 of the last one. Bjergsen will have to run it out. It doesn't have ultimate mana here, so you always have to be a little bit careful. I have, as a Zilean player myself, I've often greeted for the last bomb and ran out of mana and then died.
Well, see, as a person who has played with Zilean before, I have spam pinged my Zilean, why no ult me? And then
They ping their mana at
and then he
1%.
pings his mana that, hey dude, I had 30 mana, what are you doing? So, hey, we've both been a part of that same situation,
Yeah.
just slightly different viewpoints.
Yep.
Bottom side here, though, Bwipo's viewpoint is sunshine and rainbows, my
Yeah.
friend. This Tryndamere is going to town and scaling up.
I mean, it's rough because even if Immortals got that, I don't think it's worth it. You know, the expected value is 2.5 plates or 2 plates, right? So if you can get a kill and then a dive and a full tower with the Herald, then it becomes worthwhile. But when you're giving up a guaranteed 3 to 4 plates to Tryndamere, that is so tough to really expect to get that much back that it becomes worthwhile. The lane swap is still in effect here. Just bot lane's chilling top right now, but I do think they're going to move down, I would assume, towards this dragon to try to set up for that. TL already got the first one, would love to grab an early second.
Makes me so glad that we're out of the world where lane swap was meta.
Me too. I think Bwipo could try to look for this. I mean, if he stays around, there is the opportunity with that ghost in a long lane, but everyone moving over towards Bjergsen here, and they'll have to have 100-0 pretty quick.
Bjergsen just flashes instead. Destiny's flash traded away for Bjergsen's, and that means that Bjergsen is not even going to take any damage from this. He still has the ulti up. They're still able to use that as Revenge just backs away. Remember, Mocking Shout is known heavily for the slow that happens as long as your back is turned to him, but it is also a massive attack damage reduction. It is very powerful against any AD-themed champion.
Yep, 20 AD at rank 1 goes all the way up to 80. And the ultimate rank up is really poor. That's something that most people know. Generally, you actually skill up your first rank your ulti, and then you don't skill it up
It's
anymore
17 and
until exactly the end of the game. Because you just do get more out of that 80 reduction, you know? Especially towards those later stages. But even early on, when people are sitting at like, 100 and whatever AD, 20 is a pretty significant reduction to that. And it's one of those things that's kind of sometimes hidden power in some of these abilities.
The way I think about it is a longsword is 10 AD, and it's 350 gold.
Minus
So,
700.
Yeah, level 1 Mocking Shout is 2 longswords worth of gold. That is so much. When you look at the overall advantage that Team Liquid has, it's 2,000 gold. You have, what is that, 3 enemy targets that have attack damage themed champions? If you hit them all with a Mocking Shout in the middle of a fight, well, hey, we just doubled our gold advantage effectively.
Yep, pretty high value. And Bwipo, question answered. So it is just a Zeal for the laning phase, and then he's in towards the Gale Force. This is a build that I am definitely more of a fan of. People were kind of discovering just the power of Zeal as a laning item in general. You were seeing it a ton when people were doing a ton of the lethal tempo Yone top. People were just like rushing Zeal, and it was so effective for the laning phase. A lot of Yasuos do it these days. Some Tryndameres really do place a lot of value on it. It does, of course, slow down the first completed item, and Gale Force active is so powerful. So there's kind of an argument on both sides, but in this case, Bwipo going for that gold efficiency, and they have taken down the tower bot, so Hansam, I believe, collecting a lot of that gold. Yeah, he has 1K in his pockets, so he's pretty rich. Bwipo's pretty rich. Bjergsen's kind of just chilling farming. You got past the early stages on Zilean, you're going to be feeling good.
Bwipo not anywhere near down here. Revenge is trying to look for something here on Hans. He popped the Ghost going for it. My brain immediately just thought Tryndamere as soon as I heard Ghost. That's how unusual Ghost on Graves is. I said Bwipo and I was like, wait a second, that's not who the Ghost is.
A man with a shotgun running fast is scary, to be fair.
Right, but I mean, this isn't normally the type of game where we have to think about, oh no, the shotgun guy's sprinting at me. That's a whole different genre. But that's also the only way that I ever learned how to play Valorant. You just buy Bucky every round and run at him.
Hide in the corner.
There's a reason I'm not very good at that game. Anyway, we've still got ourselves a very Team Liquid favored game. So the question I want to pose to you right now, Azael, as we're 14 minutes in, as the plates are now gone, what specifically is the angle for Immortals here to make sure this doesn't just turn into a slow bleed out against Liquid?
I mean, I think they're going to have to probably fight it at this next dragon, right? It's not going to be about side lane for them. I do think that Tryndamere is going to outscale Graves no matter what build Graves goes for. He's not going to be able to continue in that 1v1. So it's finding setup early around the dragon and finding an AoE engage. The AoE is critical because Zilean answers the solo target picks, right? So you need to find that multi-man Qiyana ult. You need to find an early Zilean ult on unideal target, but we're going to see potentially a rundown here. Remember, Revenge has no ghost.
Well, he does have buddies, though. And buddies are worth a lot in League of
Yeah,
Legends.
they're not even ghosts. They're real people. They're
Yeah,
alive.
very, very helpful stuff there, but now it's PowerOfEvil,
Uh-oh.
who is under pressure. Santorin waits until after PowerOfEvil has already flashed, then he charges ever so audaciously to take him out. 2-0, Team Liquid.
So you can see the difference. PowerOfEvil didn't have Ghost, but he is a ghost. You know, there's some different permutations here.
All right, too well. And now Eyla is a ghost.
I'm sorry, I
Immortals
broke you with the terrible
get
joke.
themselves back into the game here. They're grabbing 2 kills. Santorin jumps in, trying to get anything back, but instead he's only going to give away another. He will at least take WildTurtle down with the burn from the challenging smite. But that was big for Immortals.
That was getting a couple of kills there, flexing a little bit of muscle around that mid lane. Getting the shutdown on Santorin as well is pretty big. Turtle does go down, but he gets the kills. They get a kill on Qiyana as well, so gonna be feeling better about their chances. We can see this one more time. As Santorin came around the side, but Xerxe just preempts it. Goes straight in. When the 2 is collapsing on the 3 go for the 2. They don't wait for Santorin to show up. Really well done here, and then Santorin going in to try to bail out Hans, not quite able to do it though, just ends up giving up his own life. Yes, he takes down Turtle, but it's not worthwhile because he's giving up his 3-kill shutdown.
And I mean, when you're on a champion like Zhao, once you go in, you don't really get out.
Yeah.
It's either
Unless you kill them and you walk out.
Right, exactly. They die or you die. That's the only way out
It's
of
an
it.
honorable duel.
It's not like you have these escape mechanisms. It's not
battle
like you
amongst
have
champions.
mobility to get away. I mean, it's all in at that point. So at least he got 1. He is 3-1. All of the kill money for Team Liquid is on Santorin, which all things considered, you're happy about if you're on Immortals because you don't want the Tryndamere and the Jinx getting accelerated.
Absolutely. Tryndamere, though, accelerating himself. He has a farm bounty, which kind of just shows he's ahead of the pace of the game. You know, he's up at 190 CS quietly at 17 minutes. You know, that is rare to see from a top laner. That means generally you're farming incredibly well, but also probably taking some stacked waves, stealing away some jungle camps, that type of thing. And that's something Tryndamere can be so strong with, because junglers cannot 1v1 this champion. So when he comes in, he steals your Krugs. He comes in, he steals your Gromp. Unless you have assistance there, you often cannot combat it.
Yeah.
So Tryndamere just takes the push, goes into your jungle, takes away camps.
And the itemization's looking good too. With the Gale Force completed, still sitting on the Zeal, Cape plus Longsword tells me probably Essence Reaver is going to be the next item built and completed here. And Essence Reaver is so scary because remember, like as he's critting, he's reducing the cooldown on his E. It's pretty easy for him if he's free hitting you to get a lot of procs on that Essence Reaver spell.
Oh, PowerOfEvil, no flash, and he's looking like he's going down.
Oh no, he's not long for this world, man. Viktor in a side lane, and now Destiny's just gonna be the icing on the cake. Can he get away? He tries to flash over the wall. Spider-Man. Oh, do you have a way home? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Okay. All right. I wasn't expecting that to
I
work.
didn't see the movie.
I haven't seen the movie either.
No Way Home.
Good. It's really good.
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah.
Great movie.
I'll have to
There
go
you
check that out sometime.
Sounds delightful. Maybe we should make an afternoon of it.
Yeah, that would be great. We'll have,
All right.
we'll have to coordinate our days off or something. But right now, no days off for the people on the Rift, especially not Immortals, who will now have to deal with a Soul Point Team Liquid for the rest of the game. 4 minutes from now.
It's getting really tough, I think, already for Immortals. The gold lead is not massive, but the game state is so heavily in their favor. TL are just pushing out sides really, really effectively, and then they're using those pushed out waves to force a response from a champion that's not really suited to play inside. That is the Viktor. Viktor answers side twice in a row. He's gotten picked off by the Zilean and the Xin. He's so exposed in these lanes, it becomes very, very dangerous for him. If you give over Mountain Soul this early on as well, you're looking at upfront insta-kills for this kind of a composition. When you have Qiyana Graves, you want to get that burst kill. That becomes so much more difficult with all the flat resistances that are coming from this, plus the Mountain Soul shield, that is negating a lot of the lethality that we're seeing purchased up by both the Graves as well as Xerxe, and even Turtle is going to go Collector. So the flat armor is actually a big deal.
Revenge will clear out this wave topside before Bwipo is able to claim the turret, but we're still looking at almost a 40 CS lead for Bwipo over his counterpart in Revenge. Revenge is going for the Eclipse here on the Graves. I remember back during lock-in, I believe it was Jat talking about how he liked Eclipse on Graves if he feels like the Immortal Shield Bow is not going to protect you from a death anyway.
Yeah.
Right? He was talking about how if it's not going to matter anyway, and it's more about these skirmishy situations, hey, give me the Eclipse, let's do that. So that's the approach we're seeing out of Revenge here.
And against low armor targets, lethality is just super effective. Like, he has such a strong burst pattern, you know, Q flash, R, etc. The Destiny, though, caught out. He has no flash from the earlier skirmish.
He has Xerxe right behind him, and Xerxe just pops Hans. Nicely done there. But now what happens in the rest of the fight?
Here.
Turtle is going to get pulled right on back. He's in trouble. Santorin going after the AD carry, and he finds him. Ayla tries to flash over the wall and stay alive. He pulls Santorin away to safety. And here comes Bwipo. He spins over the wall and flashes right back over to chase Revenge. He will not survive. Oh, man, it looked all right there at the start for Immortals as Xerxe found the kill, but TL turns it around.
Fights across the map there as PowerOfEvil and Bjergsen were going back and forth. They traded ults, they traded flashes. Bjergsen ends up having to run away there. The insta-kill onto Hans made you think it was going to go heavily in the favor of Immortals, but they spend a lot of resources to get that kill. Xin, as well as Tryndamere, are less cooldown reliant. They get in that fight, they scrap it up. We can watch this one more time. TL get the jump, or so they think, but you pull Hans in, and he just gets immediately ulted by the Nautilus, flashed out there, caught by the edge of the ulti from Xerxe, straight in, instant deletion, and then Turtle has the cleanse, but he's just getting chased down. He tries to Gale Force to safety. He uses the red gun ult for the heal, but Santorin is so damn tanky there, kiting out Great Lantern from Ayla, and as the Tryndamere arrives, there's no escaping.
Everything from Ayla there was awesome. I must praise this support play. The hooks onto the valuable targets, getting the cleanse out of Turtle, setting up the kill onto him, stopwatching to prevent his own death, throwing the lantern back to be able to save his teammate as well. Beautiful Thresh play.
And I've got to say, it's kind of a funny way to word it, and I mean no disrespect to Ayla, but it's so much credit to Ayla that people aren't talking about the fact that CoreJJ is missing. You know what I mean? It's like, that is so impressive. You know, he has really shown up, I think, very well for this team. Yes, they did lose their game yesterday, but they were great in lock-in. Ayla has made you feel that this is an incredible team, even without potentially the best player in the league in CoreJJ. And I think he has really been stepping up. Great stuff from him. TL setting up for this potential soul here. Immortals are in the area, and Xerxe's trying to threaten the flank, but you can't 1v1 against this Tryndamere, so he's got to run.
Level 15 versus level 11. Oh, Revenge steps on top of the bombs, but he's looking to contribute whatever damage he can find. Bwipo is nearly dead, but the Undying Rage keeps him alive. Turtle tries to get something back out of it, but Turtle's going to be blown up. Shut down over onto Santorin, however. 1-for-1 here in the bottom side river fight.
Yeah, Tryndamere does pop the ulti early, but Turtle just kind of got baited trying to go in that deep. Even if you kill him off, that's a Tryndamere who can't re-enter the fight without ulti. You go in, you give up your life for that is definitely not worthwhile. At the same time, Revenge has healed back up to full here. So I think the dragon is going to be theirs. It looks like they're starting it up.
They're not really committed to it. Remember, Xerxe only has about 300 HP here. That dragon is hurting him as well.
On the other side.
There's no smite. Santorin's still dead, so the Drake will be secured. The soul will be stopped. That was massive for Immortals.
That was huge for them, and it almost went so bad as it looked like a betrayal on the blast cone there. Revenge, I think, got knocked into TL by someone triggering that blast cone, and it was really because Immortals did a good job actually kiting out the Tryndamere, again, kind of showcasing the weakness of the Tryndamere in the 5v5. He does have the quick blades completed, so it's the same build as we saw last time. We can watch this one more time. Who actually hit that? Was that Xerxe? I think Xerxe did hit it to try to knock himself out. But unfortunately for Revenge, Revenge dashed over the wall, got immediately hit, knocks back in, takes almost all of his health there. Then they're kiting back onto Bwipo. Even if you kill him off there as Turtle, Zilean ulti is available. Zilean ulti is there, so Turtle, I think, losing track of the situation, tries to get aggressive, gets punished for it big time. But at least they do come out with the dragon.
They stop that soul.
Yep.
That's the name of the game. That was the most important thing. and that got accomplished. Still almost a 3,000 gold for Liquid. Still soul point for Liquid, but it is not a lost game. Super Mega Death Rocket used to scout out a little bit, just see what's going on around Baron, see if it finds anybody else making movements around that pit.
Look at bot. They're going to try to go for a dive here, almost guaranteed.
Oh, the perfect placement on Everfrost as Revenge tries to move through it. He still gets rooted, and Bwipo picks up the kill. Undying Rage means no return one there, and Bjergsen and Bwipo are still pushing.
Man, that was like a Mad Life Everfrost right there. The prediction on
So
the
good.
dash drops the Everfrost where he knows he needs to go. There's only one way out for Revenge, and it's back towards the tower. So even if Revenge steps forward to actually dodge that, you're still dead because you're walking into the Tryndamere. So that pretty much just has him completely cut off of any escape there. Really nice side lane play. TL send 2 to the sides. They find the kill on Revenge, and now they have unlocked themselves on the map. Again, PowerOfEvil is pulled to that side lane. He has got to respond to that, and it's incredibly difficult for him to do so safely.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff there from Bjergsen. There are so many conversations around Bjergsen coming back. You know,
Yeah.
he was a coach for a year. How good is he going to be? The man is just good at League of
just
Legends.
has it,
Isaac.
man.
Some
It's like a
some
bike.
people got it, and some people don't got it. And Bjergsen's got it, damn it.
He's got it in spades. He's been looking really, really good. I think answering all critics, answering all questions about how he would be, coming into the league again. I thought he would get there, but I thought it would take him some time. And really, from the word go, Bjergsen has been performing for TL, making it look like a really strong pickup for them. And obviously a very, very strong squad. They already won lock-in. They're looking really, really strong in 2022.
Well, we've got the Navori Quick Blades for Bwipo, so that means if he's able to find those hits, man, he will just never stop chasing after you. Hook coming out from Eyla, finds Destiny. Santorin still here in the middle of everybody, uses the ulti to try to keep himself healthy, but everybody's inside the range. He continues going forward. First kill over onto Destiny, and Hans Sama is able to free fire. PowerOfEvil's your next target. Revenge trying to get himself away as Turtle's able to join up here for the fight. Double kill back over to Hans. Team Liquid has lost their support, but that is all. They're looking to find the kill on Revenge next, and they got him. Santorin, Bjergsen, Hans, still ready to go. No ulti on Bjergsen. Knock, knock, knock. Who's that? It's Bwipo! Team Liquid. Ace for 1.
Starts in a 4v5 TL, make it take so long. Bwipo had time to go mid, kill the tier 2 tower, get half the damage on the inhibitor tower, then join the team here. Look at where this started. Bwipo has no TP. PowerOfEvil is teleporting in. TL, make the call, play it slow. Buy time here. Zilean arrives. Santorin is buying so much time in the front line, they can't commit too much damage to him because Zilean is there for the revive. They peel back off him, but then you're ignoring the fact that Santorin can get so much damage done here. Turtle comes around, the instant kill onto Eyla makes you think maybe it can go their way, but then you look at the mini-map, and this man is a running. He's coming. Chugga, 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 chugga,
Dude, and he just goes in. Bwipo ran across the whole country to get here, but he finally made it. And man, Team Liquid, they're 10,000 gold up. They got the Baron. 4,182 damage dealt by Santorin. Whew, I love watching this guy play.
Yeah, Bwipo getting his steps in. Santorin getting the damage in. TL looking strong. They're going for a pick, though.
Here we go. Destiny tries to start it off. Hansama's going to be at 40%. Destiny now the target. Santorin looking for him. Bjergsen's bomb going to find the kill. Revenge stuck in the Krug pit. Turtle stuck in the middle of Team Liquid. The resurrection comes through, and Hansama's back to full HP. Immortals have their back against the wall, and Team Liquid is back in familiar territory at the enemy inhibitor turrets.
They are pushing, man. You cannot test Bjergsen on these ultis. Turtle flashing in, trying to kill off Hans before Bjergsen can react, but of course he is equal to the task. They are pushing, and they are looking to close this one out.
They'll pad the stats a little bit more as they pick up 1 kill, make it 2. Will it be 3? Revenge is stunned up nice and tidy, done and dusted. Team Liquid might just get the whole ace here. They find the chompers. Destiny, yeah, he's a golden statue, but that's just going to be a trophy for TL at this point. They're all the way on to the Nexus itself. GG right at 29 minutes. Team Liquid takes them down.
Clean game here from TL, showcasing another look with the Tryndamere top. Bwipo has just been such a treat to watch this season. And you got to give so much credit to Santorin, who I feel like he has been on fire. He's been playing some of the best League of Legends of his career. There was criticisms being levied towards him over the last couple of years where he was struggling with some of his health problems. He wasn't performing to the level that you expected, but his pathing has been so good. He's up in farm. He's forcing flash instantaneously on Turtle right off the bat. He's repeat ganking him, still keeping up his tempo in the jungle, taking away the early objectives that really are kind of limiting the options of Immortals. And it just feels like he's always right place, right time. His synergy with Bjergsen has been so good.
You know what I think it was? I think it was Core JJ tweeting about River saying, man, feels good to see a good jungler play. That just lit a fire under Santorin, and now the rest of the LCS is burning. The man is so good in the jungle. And Team Liquid, just a well-oiled machine, getting things done, applying the pressure there in the bottom lane nice and early, setting it up so Turtle has no flash, return play to get him there, setting themselves up with the dragon, so they were always able to force Immortals to have to come and try to answer that. Just really good stuff, and there's still no answer in the LCS. We got a whole big book of stuff, but on none of them pages is there an answer for Bjergsen Zilean.
Yeah, it's tough. He's undefeated now, four games, 4 wins. People might start banning it, even though people are just not playing this champion globally. He is so good on it. And really, unless you can punish him early game, unless you can bring something out that really pounds this Zilean into the ground and makes it irrelevant, he is going to get incredible value in the later stages of the game. He showed it time and time again. He knows the ins and outs of this champion. He plays it perfectly. The Everfrost bot lane, as funny as it is to point to, like that was just so clean. And it's one of those things that you're like, okay, you know this champion. And even to how quick he is on the reses, he's clearly thinking, and you can tell that his cursor is actually on the champions in advance of when he needs to ult them, right? Because when Turtle is flashing forward for that kill on Hans, it's an instantaneous ult, right? In a lot of these situations, he's always on point with that. He's thinking 2 steps ahead. Who would you be looking to kill? Well, I'm already ready to ult this person.
Right. It's all about not just playing your champion how you think it should be played, but understanding what everybody else is going to do and being able to just always remain ahead. The man is one of the best for a reason. Our lock-in champs claimed their first win in spring, and now we're joining LeTigress and Santorin for our Verizon post-game interview.
Yes, we have Santorin for the first time of 2022 on the LCS broadcast for our Verizon post-game interview. So with that, how have you been? How was your off-season and getting prepared for this season as the mainstay of Team Liquid?
My off-season was it was the first time where I didn't really change patch too much for jungle, so I was like, I just kept grinding, like didn't really take a break. So that was like the first time, I don't know how many years, where I didn't take a break. Because I've just been feeling better overall. I've been feeling healthy. So I've been really excited for this year because I think, you know, first of all, we got a really good roster. I'm very excited for this year, and then, you know, winning lock-in, I'm not sure if it's a good or bad thing because I kind of get scared of what happened last year where we win lock-in and get second place twice in a row. So I'm hoping we can change that path this time around.
Now, there is something to be said about the momentum, though, and the positives of rolling into the regular season. I was happy to read in the Invent Global interview that you did that you are feeling much healthier and a lot better on that front. You also mentioned the interesting factor of being reunited with Bjergsen after 8 years of not playing with him. So tell me about this reunion after becoming such different players at this point in time.
It's been really exciting because I mean, looking back in 2015, first of all, I mean, I didn't feel like I was ready. I just wasn't, you know, the player I had to be to play with a GOAT like Bjerg. So I'm really excited to like play with him again because I think we both had flaws back then that we like kind of fixed, and we are just like better overall players now and individuals. So it's been really nice catching up with him because I think that was something, you know, I kind of just wanted to like play with him again because I just didn't feel ready last time.
Yeah, and it's not just him. You have so many strong pieces around you that feel like it kind of unlocks you in what you get to do as a jungler. So what is that like, having someone like Bwipo in the top lane with the champ pool that he has? And then even Eyla right now stepping in for Core JJ, still looking so strong and consistent in that support role as well.
It's been really nice. I mean, Bwipo is one hell of a guy. He's really, really aggressive, and I really like playing with him because he just brings so much aggression to the team where I think I think most of our players are very calculated in the way they play the game. It's very like stand out macro, and then people will just have this go button. Like he'll just see a fight and he'll take it. And I think that just like brings that X factor to the team that is really valuable.
Yeah, X factor from so many players. You know, we've seen Hanselma pop up so many times as well. And when we were talking a little bit leading up to this interview, it is interesting after such a strong performance in lock-in and today to say that you are 1-1 in the starting week. How much are you indexing into that loss to kick off the season after having such a prominent performance here today?
I mean, honestly, I don't mind losing a couple games. I also think actually like the game yesterday is a big learning experience for us as a team because I think there's a lot of things we did very poorly. And it's kind of good getting a wake-up call right after you win that, hey guys, there's so much you can still do better. So I'm actually quite happy with it because if we just, went on a 9-win streak or something like that and you just think everything is fine, like there's so many things we can improve on, and getting beat pretty heavily by 100 Thieves, I think that's a good sign.
Always good to look for what you can take away from it. I definitely admire that. Santorin, congratulations on this victory. Before I let you go, though, I believe it's Cloud9 that you're playing next. So thoughts on the interesting drafts that they've been bringing through in their 2-0 week?
Yeah, I mean, I actually really like it because it's the games I'm looking forward to watching. Right now, I think the meta's been very stale in pro play. It's like I kind of see the same drafts over and over again. So seeing something completely new and creative and innovative, I really like that. Whether it's good or bad, that's up for judgment. But when it comes to like actually watching the game, it's really fun. So I like it.
Yeah, should be a good one, that's for sure. Well, thank you again, Santorin, for stopping by for this interview.
Thank you.
Time for us to go ahead and wrap up the day, everybody, in the Bud Light Breakdown.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back after our final game of the day, where it's Team Liquid picking up their first win of the regular split, having fallen down just yesterday. But I do want to key into what Santorin said. He definitely feels like yesterday was a super valuable learning experience. And while, yes, there's a lot of expectation on the names that make up a roster like Team Liquid's, that isn't to say that they can't be without fault, especially in the earlier parts of the season, and we'll look for them to continue to get better.
I think while a lot of us peg them as potentially the best team in the LCS, that doesn't mean we don't expect other top teams to take games off them in best of ones. And so you do have to bounce back. You still have to play well. Even in this game, there were parts where it got a little sloppy for Team Liquid. So, they're clearly a very talented team, but they still have to iron out a few kinks.
100%. I mean, when they went up against 100 Thieves, you talk to most people and they'll have them as the 1 and 2 interchangeable. Like, they're the top 2 teams in the league. And I mean, when you see this game, first of all, I will say this is a disgusting draft. Zilean and Tryndamere, like, pretty damn difficult. Also, since I can't leave them out, right? Like, just really hard to ever scrap post 6. And they definitely felt that. I felt like Qiyana was a fish out of water.
Yeah, and I mean, I think when we talk about Santorin, he was one of the constants on the team, right? Like him and Bjergsen all throughout lock-in were the 2 members of the team that didn't change. I think he quietly had some very strong performances in that, and he's kind of been the most stable member on this team, like the member that you can always rely on to make plays and play well.
Yeah, I mean, even in these highlights, you see that he's going in 2v4 and knowing the limits of Zhao, knowing how to frontline, and when it's time for him to carry because he's got a Zilean on his team, he got super fed this game.
And I'll be honest, Raz, nothing makes me happier than hearing him say how much better he feels coming into the season, how excited he is to be back on the Rift, and then for him to show us that very thing by putting up a performance like he did here today, earning himself player of the game.
Easily one of our best junglers this league has, and the best facilitating jungler in this league. He knows that he has star players that are flanking him, and he will go above and beyond to make that known. In the finals that they had versus Evil Geniuses, when he had the Lulu just super buffing his J4, he was in there. And so, like, being able to see someone that is so confident and knows his role to a T, it's great to see.
I know he had the support, but 95%
that's
KP and 36% damage?
He was in there in this game, too.
There it is.
Just means
Zilean
Bwipo didn't
speed
have
up.
a good game.
Yeah.
Bwipo should have got more solo kills.
Well, it just, to me, it makes Raz's statement very true. That he is flanked by those other star players, especially in this game. He was the one leading the charge, and I'm sure at times he'll be willing to give that up and let a player like Bwipo take the lead. Bjergsen as well, maybe, if he finds his way off of that Zilean pick, which no one has seemed to find a way to get him off of. And he's been piloting to such success.
Yeah, Raz and I were talking about this off camera in terms of like the value of Zilean, like how strong of it is as a pick, but also the fact that Bjerg is always so willing to play it, it forces other teams to adapt to it. And then there's also the question of like, well, once teams adapt, then, you know, what else does Bjergsen have? But for right now, the Zilean is working out really, really well. And maybe more importantly, they're picking compositions with the Zilean that work really well with it.
Yes, they're ultra creative. So like seeing this pick, knowing that I kind of mentioned about Qiyana being fish out of water, like how is she actually going to operate versus Tryndamere that has ulti, versus literally anybody, by the way, that that has a Zilean ultimate. Exactly. So like you really can't do much in fights, and of course the sustained damage that Zhao has. Like this is a great draft, and drafts like these will happen a lot for Team Liquid. They've happened during lock-in, and the finals were just kind of draft sweeps that they've had. So I think this team is really smart how they play around their pieces, and you kind of already mentioned it. You have great pieces across the board. If it's not going to be Hansama that's carrying, it's going to be Bwipo. It's going to be Bjergsen. Like somebody can always step up.
I do real quickly want to circle back to that PoE versus Bjergsen conversation that we had before the game. Mark, you being in the camp of, hey, I give the edge to the coach. The coach did get the better of him this time around. And again, both of them kind of finding their way onto comfort picks and doing it.
Well, there's a lot going on because you also have Gilhodo, who coached Xerxe before. And so there's a couple of different coach battles going on. I felt like Santorin was in the Bjerg back pocket again, though. That's the one nice thing about being the coach is you can be like, hey, come here. Santorin, come to my lane, come to my lane. It's 2v1 sometimes.
That's true, that's true. You definitely have the help. And I do think, though, a lot of people are going to look at PowerOfEvil throughout this split as being the person who needs to turn it on to give you what you were asking for, Mark, in terms of that glimmer and ultimately push Immortals into a position where they look competitive. Because, for example, we took a look at the pedigree of PowerOfEvil yesterday in that graphic that Jap brought up and how split over split over split since he's joined the LCS, his teams have placed higher and higher and higher. Of course, they placed first at one point in the split, and so it's going to be hard for him to continue to eclipse that, but you wonder if he still has enough in the tank to push a team like this Immortals to that point.
Yeah, I mean, whenever it comes to a PoE team, they rally around a direction on that team, and it usually is around team fighting around his picks, right? This time around, you mentioned it before the game even started, that they are directionless in a way. And so I look at their previous game, just the most recent one, okay, past this one, yesterday's. And a lot of the team fights just have the same uncoordination, where it's just like, okay, Zhao's going in before, you know, his carries are even ready. And this game had a little bit of all of that. And so they have to go back to the drawing board. I think it's less of a draft conversation, generally speaking, and it's more just about here is how we want to team fight, and here's how we want to communicate things like responsibilities.
We did it yesterday. We'll do it again today. Let's take a look back on all of the player of the games that were awarded today. As we mentioned, Santorin picked it up in this fifth and final game of the day, but it was closer, Bifrost, Berserker, and Jose Diodo across the other four.
Can I just call it Berserker again?
Yeah.
Because he's so good. Like, I already knew how good he was, like, individually as a talent.
Showing us
like,
what we already know.
In LCK, their, like, Academy League, but I'm so happy to see that already he comes out with this C9 team. And, like, again, yes, these compositions have a lot of enchanters, so like Blabber, he's going to be set up for success, but to deliver, like, through his team fighting mechanics, I'm actually, like, really, really happy to see it.
But the biggest thing I noticed was the dimples on Jose Diodo. That kid's got hella dimples. You see that?
Yeah.
He was like last person I thought would call out something like that. But all right, man. I want to call out Bifrost.
Yes.
Because I was already so happy to hear that he was going to be returning to the LCS, but people need to remember who this guy is, right? Because I think there's something to be said for how long he was away. And he even kind of said this himself in a number of the opportunities we've had to speak to him, that like, yeah, he definitely has a lot to prove in coming back. But let's remember that this is one of the best supports of all time in the LCS by a record standing, by a titles standing. And so to have him back and have him look like he's playing at a high level already really excites me, Raz.
Yeah, and he's shutting people up because near the tail end of his time in TSM, it was a skill drop-off, right? He wasn't performing well a lot of times. And sure, there was the swap between him and Treats. Like, people will remember that vividly and the time that he had in Academy, but then he comes back and then slams on his pick, Thresh. Like, career-wise, I feel like his best pick. People will talk about that in Rakan, but I always kind of saw Bifrost's Thresh as something different. And so he comes in there, team's direction around River, and he just keeps getting hooked. So if this is the type of Bifrost we're going to see that, I want to see that week after week.
It's like, you know, a lot of pro players have ups and downs in their careers, and sometimes people write off a down as like the end of their career. And I think some of the stuff that we're talking about there, some of the CLG time, like it was easy to be like, well, you know, Biofrost is doomed. This is the end of Biofrost. And so it's cool to be like, no. It's a career. You have ups and downs. It happens in life.
Ole is just another name that pops into my head as he returns, and we'll have to see.
Santorin himself. He's like literally the best jungler in the LCS, maybe.
And wins his rookie split. He's definitely searching for another title since then, right? We know how hungry he is for it. Okay, well, after an undefeated return to the regular season, rather, our MasterCard Player of the Week this week goes to none other than FBI. Yes, it's the defending championship squad and the AD carry who helped them pick up that first trophy in the org's history.
Just when people were counting them out after the lock-in performances, they really blow it up. I know Closer had player of the game this time around, but FBI was humongous. Yesterday's games on Aphelios were insane how much damage he's able to do. And this game, of course, like his Jhin was just inspirational.
I was gonna ask if we were gonna get the levitation. Wait, they cut it so early.
We had to do the part where he's like floating above every.
Suspense.
Just one death.
The next time
that was the one death. He's floating up to heaven.
The next time he gets Player of the Week, we'll play the second half of that clip there for you. Stellar KDA, only one death across the weekend. Phenomenal numbers, but of course a phenomenal squad alongside him. And so kudos to him picking up the first MasterCard Player of the Week. We got plenty more of those to hand out. Thank you so much.
Don't leave us. He was taking too young.
It's just one. Where's the Oxon? Bring him back. Where's the Zilean? All right, 10 games into the season. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the teams stand. We got 4 teams atop the league. It's Cloud9, it's Dignitas, Quantum Pay, FlyQuest, and 100 Thieves.
Wow.
The FlyQuest 2-0 is
That's
a little
the surprise to you?
Well, not even just like, oh, FlyQuest went 2-0 at the start of the week. I can believe that, but what their games looked like, the crazy one versus CLG, the comeback versus Golden Guardians, it's insane that they were able to clutch out a 2-0.
Another one is Dignitas too. I mean, people will put respect on their name based off lock-in, but pre-season expectation for both them and FlyQuest, completely different. I had both of those teams before lock-in at the last place spot, and they really shut me up on this one.
Me too, yeah.
And now back to the team that everyone's been talking about, Cloud9. Because again, like if you do talk about like burden of expectations, right? If you have a very set way that you want to play the game and you're so vocal about it, we already talked about like how the C9 Academy threads on Reddit turned like insane reaction, like incredibly polarizing. And C9 came in this week. They're 2-0. They looked really confident in what they were bringing out. I was a little bit concerned as to how Blabber would fit on this team, to be quite honest. And I think the way they've been playing around him is so smart, actually, making the most of how he goes in, just like Fudge said. So they actually really impressed me this week.
I think the fact that they also just started their LCS season as full throttle on this idea as you can be. Like, they didn't ease into it. They didn't do some standard drafts because they just got in this week, you know. They were honing this probably in Korea because a number of those players were over there, even though Fudge and Blabber were still in North America. I have to imagine that they were working out some of these comps already because it's just so cool that immediately in the LCS, they're doing these Enchanters mid.
That's the thing. It's that they went through, I would say, a lot of adversity in the sense that they didn't have their team here. You had evil geniuses like 100 Thieves. You had a lot of teams that were putting in a lot of practice coming up to this start of Split where they literally couldn't do that. Of course, there's also the language barriers and everything. And then they did that with their unique strategies with Soraka, Ivern, all of these things, and a role-swapping mid laner, and were able to beat the finalists of the lock-in tournament. So a lot of props for that one because those were hard wins.
And what's super interesting, to bring it back to the LCS overall, is now we get to see how teams respond to that, right? So like now they know this is how C9's going to play. We talked about how strategic diversity works and how everyone is trying out their own strategies and how they match up against other teams. You know, next week we get to see what happens now that people have had a week to think about really hard about what C9 has been bringing to the table.
And not to ignore the rest of the teams in the league, there's one team I want to call out who we saw actually at the bottom of the standings in the O2 position, TSM. For me, I actually come away instilled with a lot of confidence in this team out of their O2. And part of that is because of the expectation setting that the team has done themselves. Speak, again, being very vocal about, like, look, it's going to be a slow start for us. And so I appreciate when a team says that. But then even through that, showed us a lot of really good looks. And individually, you look at a lot of those players and you go, okay, when they start gelling together, I can really see how this team could be a threat.
I mean, both games were winnable this first week, which is, obviously you want to win, but you also, you still have degrees of how you look in these games. And I think to your point, there were very good, clear, bright spots for this team to build on going forward.
Wish we could talk about them all, but then we'd be here all night. Next, we're going to talk about some individuals as we pull up the Samsung SSD Fast 5 from this week. So that's an important addendum there. This is times and stats from this week only. We've removed lock-in, kind of reset the table here as we take a look at some of our individual top performers. For the three of you, anything that jumps to your brains? Emily.
I want to call out Neo, and then I also want to call out Blue, because he's someone that we have not been able to highlight as much because the rest of Dignitas has also been doing really well. But here is yet another player who is like almost universally panned in coming over to the LCS and has been performing really well.
Did Kumo even get 100 CS this weekend? He's 2-0, but he was playing the double roam.
We also need the Samsung slowest.
I don't even think he made it to 100.
No, that's a Samsung competitor. You know what? He's the slowest.
Just because of that, you're gonna praise Kumo on that, right?
I did ask the question earlier of how many supports this weekend would have actually out-CS'd him? And that I do have to wonder. But I do like to call it to Dignitas because, again, I think they are in some ways the enigma, right? As they have completely flouted the expectations of so many people. We're going to continue to try and figure out exactly why it is they look so good. And I think calling out those individuals specifically is a big piece of it. Now, a reminder that Samsung has partnered with Sleeper and Fantasy LCS, and you can now earn bonus points each week for correctly predicting the fastest performers in each of those categories. So congrats to those of you who claimed those extra rewards this week. Next week, though, we've got some barn burners coming your way, especially our third game of the day on Saturday. It's Cloud9 again. It's another one of those. You knew it had to be, this time against Team Liquid.
This is not an easy strength of schedule. The fact they've gone up against Evil Geniuses and now they're going up against Team Liquid. So, it's going to be fun. What are they going to play this time? Is it going to be the Malzahar mid lane?
I mean, obviously that's the clear one to circle. I'm actually looking at Dig versus EG because a big joke coming out of the lock-in tournament was Dig was actually number 2 because they challenged Team Liquid more. Well, right now they're 2-0 and EG's 1-1. If Dig actually win this game, you could make that case without trying to have your tongue in your cheek.
And then the last one, because I would have also highlighted those games, is FlyQuest TSM is actually really interesting to me too, because FlyQuest has come out, they've played this Smite top strategy twice now. I think they are confident in it and they know theoretically how to play it. I'm not gonna say the execution has always been there. And then TSM is kind of in a similar boat where they've had some really brilliant runs of play, especially in today's game. I thought they were cross-mapping actually quite well in certain places. So I'm really curious to see A, are they going to have to play against the Smite top again? But then also B, just how these two teams are going to go since they've both been really interesting to watch.
So, two things. I want to see how deep they get in the sauce of this one, right? With the Karma and Janna's ban, hey, maybe we're doing the Taric. The second, new patch. And so we got to see the Ahri. There are changes that
PowerOfEvil!
PowerOfEvil's Ahri is out there. Maybe the wins start rolling in, Mark.
Boom.
That's 3 things.
Was that 3 points?
What? No, it wasn't.
You mentioned PoE. I counted that as a thing.
No, you can't. Get out of here with that.
I kind of mentioned PoE.
Point.
That might be on me for inserting point
Yeah, don't
number
do that.
3. I'm very sorry for that. Again, tons of action coming your way next week. Make sure you mark your calendars. Can't wait to see you guys all there. I do want to take a moment, though, to invite all of you to join us in the Bud Light League Lounge. It's going to be me, it's LeTigress, it's LeTigress, and it's a Blolive. It's some Pong. It's everything you could want.
Emily.
Make sure you catch that on twitch.tv/Bud Light right after the highlights, or you can stay here and wait for the raid. That's going to do it for us, on the main channel. So now on behalf of myself, the casters, and the entire remote broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week and for more of the LCS. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, and be good to each other. Good night. She'll get it one day.
No.
He's going to get it.
You're
You're going to see a big crack through the screen when it hits.
FBI knocks out another kill, and now it's time for Boom to fall yet again. Zhao chops him down for the second time this game, and they're on for a bit more. Closer is angry, and Closer gonna take down his countrymate. Rooted in place, now Boom gonna block some shots. Dunk comes across and a solo kill comes through for some. The FBI finds another. Seconds left on it. Ooh, big damage, and that is gonna be a deletion. Goodbye, Tank Rise, not tanky enough. Huni is on the dragon. This is 5v4. It's 5v4. Fake gun just gets, no, he gets one. He gets Zeri. He gets out for now and landed to safety. That is Baron claimed. That is huge. Dignitas Barons in 2022.
Because the Herald was summoned up immediately,
wants it.
Blabber's going underneath the turret.
God.
It looked like he was low. go, but Soraka said no! Fudge is down, Winsome is down, Blabber's gonna be tanking up and doing whatever the man can, but the man can't do nothing! Summon's gonna be taken low, Berserker is dominating, Berserker is coming back to life, and Berserker will cut them down! But it's all about the setup as LeTigress approaches from the flank. He'll find damage onto multiple targets and then buy some time with a stasis of his own. Hosedioto finding a kick here. They will kill off Reset. They will kill off Lob. LeTigress trying to get out. LeTigress falls. They don't want to fully commit here. Pridestalker right back into the flamed by Hosedioto and FlyQuest. Golden Guardians now stuck in the Baron pit trying to get away. The Rockets find one, the Rockets find two. Hey there, LeTigress, how about you? But now what happens in the rest of the fight? Here. Turtle is gonna get pulled right on back. He's in trouble. Santorin going after the AD carry and he finds him. Ayla tries to flash over the wall and stay alive. He pulls Santorin away to safety. And here comes Bwipo. He spins over the wall and flashes right back over to chase revenge. He will not survive. No ulti on Bjergsen. Knock, knock, knock. Who's that? It's Bwipo! Team Liquid. Ace